Finding an activity to do with your child that challenges and pushes you both to be better, that builds character, and is something you can learn together is a fantastic thing.
At Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness, we thrive on positive feedback from our students, so you can just imagine how happy we were to hear from Jessica and her daughters as they gave their thoughts about our classes.
Classes are always fun, and I always learn something new.
Fun and learning, all while getting out and getting active. That's one of our goals, and according to these amazing ladies, we're doing our job and doing it well.
I see the excitement and the joy that they have to go to class to learn and improve.
Contact us today to find out what everyone is talking about. Our family can't wait to meet your family.
Okami Kai is my favorite place to be.
Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness. Check us out at okamikai.com.
Everything is my favorite thing to do in class.
Welcome to the Okami Kai Chronicles, a podcast devoted to not only the students at Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness, but also to the fans of our school and maybe even other instructors who are curious about what's happening in our small area of the martial arts industry. I'm Scott Campsall, and I'm the chief instructor at Okami Kai, which is located in Uxbridge, Ontario, Canada. In this episode, I talk about pushing past fear. We're often confronted with things that make us nervous or cautious. Sometimes they can be small decisions that just need us to take a leap, but other times they could be huge commitments that could totally change our lives. In an effort to live up to the third sentence of our student creed, I'm hoping that I can say the right thing that will encourage and empower you to face your fear so you can bring out the best in yourself and maybe even others. I was told once that Gozo Shioda, who is the founder of Yoshinkan Aikido, which is a style of Aikido that we study at Okami Kai, I was told once that he said, when confronted with a forest of spears, run into the forest. And the theory was that if you are far enough away from a group of people that are trying to hit you with spears, that if you run into them, chances are you won't be hit by as many. So let's say there are 50 people all aiming spears at you. And if you're far enough away, then if they all throw them at the same time, chances are you're probably going to be hit by a bunch. But if you move closer, maybe you get hit by one, maybe two. So the theory behind this quote was that as martial artists, we're taught that we don't try to avoid our fears, but we face them head on. And so if you're dealing with something that you feel like you have to be cautious about and you're waiting for the right moment, or you're telling yourself you've got to be careful and that you can't ruin what you already have, then I think hopefully this episode will be for you. I want to see if we can move you past your fear. It could be that you've got a new job opportunity and you're hesitating. You're afraid that you're going to lose the security that you have right now. Or maybe you want more from someone. It could be a favor, a partnership, a relationship, and you don't want to risk that friendly connection by asking them to move forward with this. You could want to create something. It could be artwork. It could be writing something. It could be a video. Even social media posts could make someone nervous about whether they want to throw themselves out there. So like I said, today we're going to see if we can move you forward and get you into that forest. And the way that I'm going to try to do that is I'm going to use another analogy, not necessarily the forest of spears thing, but something that my generation might be able to respect and understand a little bit better. And that is, when I was a kid, I had a friend and his mother there was two living rooms. There was the living room that we could always go into and we could always hang out. And then there was another living room that had really fancy furniture in it. And even though we weren't allowed in that living room all that often, even then, she had still wrapped the furniture in plastic. I believe, if I remember correctly, that the furniture all came in plastic anyway, and she just kept the plastic covers on. I could be wrong about that. She might have actually wrapped it up in plastic, but either way, the furniture had plastic on it. And the theory was that, especially with kids in the house, she didn't want one of us spilling stuff on it or making a mess. She didn't want to scuff up the furniture or anything. She wanted to keep it in that new condition. And so she was afraid to take the plastic off because she was trying to protect this very fancy furniture that she had. And so even though she's got this fancy furniture, now it's not fancy anymore. Now it's just crappy furniture wrapped in plastic. And so what's the point of that? You want to have something that's nice. You want to have, like I said, the nice living room. And instead, it looks like something from the furniture store. And this woman that did this, she wasn't the only one. This was a regular thing that happened in our generation. And that's why it wasn't even second guessed. It was just, you have special furniture, you wrap it up in plastic. My grandmother used to have fancy soaps, and we weren't allowed to use them because they were in the shapes of, I believe they were rosebuds. And because they were so pretty to look at, we weren't allowed to use them. So we had soap that we couldn't use. She would buy other soap that we could use. And so when we're talking about fear, or we're talking about putting ourselves out there, we have ambitions, we've got ideas, but they're like that plastic wrapped furniture. The ideas and the ambitions are also wrapped in plastic. And these are the things that you talk about or you think about, but you don't actually act upon them because you're afraid. You're afraid that it's going to change your life, or that you won't be respected, or you won't be accepted. So you've got the plastic that's preserving this thing's potential at the expense of its actual realistic value. You'll never know what you can achieve with this thing, whether it be the job opportunity or that creative outlet. Because of the fact you've protected yourself, you'll never know. So let's just say that this woman had removed the plastic. What's the worst that could happen? And I think maybe that's what's happened, is that when the generation of plastic wrapped furniture finally took the plastic off, they started realizing it's really not that bad. Because what's the worst that happens? We sat on it. Maybe we spilled some juice or something. Or maybe she had some friends that came over and they sat on it and maybe they spilled a little wine. Or maybe between the visitors and the kids that there could have been some scuff marks or something like that. Maybe some cleaners would have had to have been called at the worst. Like right now, you can purchase a steam cleaner. I've done it. We've got one here that we got from Amazon. I think it was a couple $100. But if she had taken the plastic off, then the furniture would have been softer, would have been more comfortable, and then she could have enjoyed the fancy furniture that she bought in all its splendor. Eventually, she would have had to get a new one. Yeah, absolutely. But in the end, she would have been able to enjoy what she had. And so I've got to ask you, are you happier with the safe and sanitized version of your life? Or are you interested in finding out how messy it could be if you actually take action? So here's something that I want you to ask. If you act, what's the worst that could happen? And then the next thing I want you to ask yourself is, if you don't act, what are you left with? That's it. That's a whole exercise. I'm not asking you to consider the best case scenario, because we aren't really motivated by the best case scenarios, and they might not happen. We know that. We are, however, motivated by the fear of loss. And there's a theory called the loss aversion theory, which basically says that our human brains are programmed to protect against loss more than we are to seek gain. And so this exercise that I'm giving you actually forces you to ask which bad option actually contains less loss. And so to put this on a personal level, I'll just say, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this Okami Kai Chronicles podcast. I'm aiming for every 2 weeks, and it's been a bit of a task to do that. But I was really hesitant when I first started. I didn't know if this was a thing that I should do or shouldn't do. I like the idea of connecting with our students. I like the idea of having another outlet where I can communicate and people can sort of get to know me and how I think. For me, if you're going to take lessons of any kind, it's sort of good if you can sort of have a connection with the teacher. And it doesn't matter if it's music, martial arts, anything. And the podcast outlet gave me an opportunity where I can try to teach or try to communicate about what's going on in the school. And you can listen to this from your car, from your living room, while you're baking. For me, sometimes I'm listening to podcasts while I'm doing book work. And so I thought maybe this would go, maybe it's not going to go. Honestly, it's not the most popular podcast. We've got another one, Uxbridge Beat. It has way more downloads. The Capital Conquest one that I do with Hanchi Tarian, which we interview instructors from around the world, and it has way more downloads. But it took a little bit of guts to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this and see where it goes. So like I said, I'm trying for every 2 weeks. Obviously, I'm getting later and later. I've had some things lately that have sort of conflicted with my schedule for doing podcast episodes. And so I'm stumbling through some mistakes. I'm stumbling through schedule problems. I'm starting to realize that this is a little bit bigger undertaking than I thought it was going to be. But if I hadn't taken the leap, if I hadn't taken the plastic off of this thing, then I never would have known where it was going to go or what was going to become of it. And I'm still not totally done yet. I've taken the plastic off. I think we're going to have to give it a few kicks, maybe spill some stuff on it. But just like anything else in life, or just like that fancy furniture, it's meant to be sat on, and life's meant to be lived, and podcasts are meant to be launched. So I've taken the plastic off, and we'll see if we can do this thing better. And so one thing I can say about having a recording that talks about something like this is that maybe you aren't dealing with something just yet, but in the future you might have something that's making you a little bit cautious. And I hope that you remember this episode, and I hope it's worth you going back to it and listening to it, and hopefully maybe we can get you to go into that forest of spears. And if you know someone else that this might help, by all means, please share it with them, because like I said, the audience isn't that big. But either way, let me know if this helps you. And like I said, I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to be able to listen to another episode in 2 weeks, but at some point, you're going to be able to sit on the couch and we'll be able to connect again. Thanks for listening. This has been a Campsall Broadcasting production. Sorry, that's not what you think. That was the sound of me getting up off the couch.